Of a population of 46 million, around 4.5 million South Africans survive on less than $1 a day. That's 150 times less than the cheapest bottle of champagne on offer in this Johannesburg nightclub. Yet it sells more Moet Chandon and Dom Perignon than any other club in South Africa's wealthiest city, and 90% of the clientele is black. Scenes like this were unheard of 15 years ago, and they say as much about a dramatic shift in spending power as they do about the country's social transformation.
Black economic empowerment has been a wonderful concept, a really good idea in South Africa, and it has benefited hundreds of thousands of people in this economy. Regrettably, it isn't drilled down very deep at all. The vast majority of South Africans live on not very much.
A study last year showed South Africa's black middle class had swelled to 2.6 million people, an astonishing 30% increase on the previous year. The country's black diamonds, just 12% of the black population, spend $23 billion annually, 54% of overall black spending. By comparison, South Africa's white population, for decades the only group with full access to the formal economy, was spending $30 billion a year. Nowhere is this new distribution of wealth better demonstrated than in the country's largest township, Soweto. For years, the area's lack of infrastructure forced residents to travel 30 kilometres into Johannesburg city centre to do their spending.
I recognize the fact that Soweto is a city within a city, and I recognize the fact that it has a very strong buying power, and I really believe that if a mall, and a 21st century mall such as the one that I've established in Soweto, it's been established there, it will be given the support.
Entrepreneur Richard Mupunya is an institution in Soweto, having operated small retail businesses in the township for close to 30 years. His mall opened its doors for the first time in September last year. Already a financial success, it also stands as a monument to the changing fortunes of an area long neglected by the former white nationalist government.
Richard Mupunya has been making money in Soweto for the last 40 or 50 years. And for a lot of people who live in Soweto, the journey into what traditional white areas is an expensive journey, probably quite a dangerous journey, and also is a journey which doesn't need to be undertaken anymore.
What many considered a financial risk for Mupunya was simply filling an obvious gap in the market.
It was almost like a stampede. Over 50,000 people at a time in a mall, you know. It's a lot of people.
And those feet are doing more than simply pausing outside shop windows, judging by the number of Mupunya's patrons applying for credit.
Spending patterns have changed, especially in communities like where we are right now in Soweto and so forth, where a mall like this never existed up until now recently.
The efforts of people like Richard Mupunya are essential to the ambitions of the South African government to continue drawing people into the formal economy and to halve poverty and unemployment by 2014.
Over the last 5 years, in a booming South African economy, black people for the first time in South African history have had access to credit in a way that was never available before. People have been able to borrow money, have been able to move into areas from which they were excluded previously, access to finance. Now, as the South African economy tightens up, that's going to be the test as to just how real the black middle class actually is.
Growth slowed to 5.1% in 2008 from 5.4% in 2007, and some analysts have labelled as optimistic the country's official 4% growth forecast for this year. The global economic climate could make scenes like this, in South Africa's wealthier suburbs, the exception rather than the rule.